Of course, we all know that August will be here before we know it. And so this is the perfect time to be spending our summer and our time outside of school crafting the perfect personal statement for the Common App essay or for a university-specific application. But of course, first, we want to introduce ourselves a little bit and also about our company and tell you why you should listen to our advice and also, again, about our company before jumping into example essays and answering all of your questions. My name is Michaela. Previously, I worked as a staff writer for a national magazine, so writing essays and personal statements is right in my wheelhouse. And then also I worked previously as an admissions counselor at a Big Ten university. So again, spent a lot of time in essays, reading hundreds of essays from the admissions side of the screen. So again, I have a unique perspective of having read hundreds and hundreds of essays, sometimes per day, it felt like. And now I have an author page on niche.com and spend my time working with students as an independent counselor at Moon Prep. So definitely a strong writing background, and that's why I love being here to answer all of your personal statement questions.
Awesome. My name is Nicole. I'm also a counselor here at Moon Prep. I'm a licensed professional school counselor. I also have a master's degree in higher education and leadership and policy. So I've kind of done a few different things. I formerly worked as a financial aid counselor at a private university on Long Island, and I have experience working as a high school guidance counselor. I'm just really passionate about collaborating with students and their families, supporting them in the process through Ivy League, BSMD, and scholarship and financial aid as well. So a little bit about Moon Prep. We are a team made up of independent college counselors who work with students virtually to guide them through not only the admissions process, but also high school. The counselors at Moon Prep serve and guide as a guide to mentor with their students. We help younger students select the right classes for their major, help them narrow down their career interests to choose a major, finding summer research opportunities, internships, things like that. We help build the strongest possible applicant profile. So when senior year rolls around, they have a competitive candidate for the most selective universities. With our rising seniors, they're kind of the most important at the moment. We help guide them through the application so nothing is missed. We help them brainstorm the perfect college essay based on hundreds of effective ones that we've already seen. Essentially, we work with each student in a one-on-one capacity. We don't follow the typical Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 schedule. We work nights, weekends, various time zones. So whenever it's convenient for you, we make it convenient for us. We essentially fill in the gaps that may arise from a busy high school counselor. As a high school counselor myself, I understand, those limitations that they might have. They might not have the time to help with all of the essays and the items for every single student. Also, we have met many high school counselors who don't really proofread essays on a Saturday night or over the weekend when we're about to hit a deadline. So we have the opportunity at Moon Prep to hop on a Zoom call if it's 10 o'clock at night. That's where we're able to come in. So we're pretty unique, and we accept a limited number of students for each counselor because we want to keep the caseload small. We want to be able to completely focus on our students' individual needs. Not every student is the same, and even work with medical school applicants and grad school applicants as well. We have focused on highly selective college admissions and direct medical programs, often referred to BSMD programs as kind of our specialty. Our counselors meet regularly to share advice about our students. So when you work with one of us, you work with all of us.
Absolutely. And then tonight we're going to be talking about the Common App and the personal statement. I think, are we stuck on a slide, Nicole?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. And so a lot of students, when they're applying to schools, of course, if you're in Texas or California, you'll have those kind of state-specific applications, but kind of one common thing across all of the applications is kind of that main essay. Of course, you see kind of like you see application breaks that up a little bit, but most applications have a personal statement. Now, the Common App serves as a single application that over 850 colleges will use, which allows you to fill out one application for every school that uses it. And this application includes a 650-word essay called the personal statement. And that's what we're going to be focusing on tonight, because that's kind of like the biggest step you can take with essays. And then, of course, depending on the schools on your college list, you'll likely have some colleges that require additional smaller supplemental essays, but this personal statement is kind of the first big step into essays. So in order to get into your dream school, you'll not only need great grades and test scores, but also a strong personal statement that really lets colleges know who you are as a person behind the pages of the application. There are 7 prompts to choose from, and of course, those are published all over on the internet, so we don't need to spend time going through all of them today. But the last prompt also allows you to essentially submit an essay on any topic. So don't feel too hedged in by the questions, the prompts. They rarely change year to year, although there was a change this last year from, I think, one of the questions. And also, admissions committees have no preference for which prompt you choose. It's not like, oh, they chose number 2, they're less likely to get in than people that chose number 4. They have no preference. And often, sometimes their software, their program that they use won't even let them see what prompt that you answered. So it doesn't, it really truly doesn't matter which one you answer. It's a little behind. I guess I can just do a little bit about kind of what they're looking for in the essay before we jump into this too. The essay is really great because it allows schools to do a holistic review of your application, and it just allows them to see like the full picture of who you are. And truly the essay is your chance on your application, along with your supplementals, of course, to show your personality behind the resume, as I kind of said before. But most importantly, we'll get into this a little bit. This is not the time to restate your resume or just casually introduce yourself. This is the time to really stand out and have them take notice of who you are and let your words create a powerful message of your character.
So if you're looking for a more personalized advice on this after the webinar, we do have a special for you going on right now. I work with probably 10 to 12 seniors each year in addition to underclassmen. Every single year, the students sign up for Moon Prep during the summer before senior year or earlier start immediately on the Common App activities and their essays, and they're able to enjoy their senior year. Then we have a few students who join us in October, about a month before some of the major deadlines, and we have to start completely from scratch on the exact same items that we were working with our other students on much prior. These students are usually super stressed, juggling senior year, tough classes, and it kind of gets a little bit messy. So we don't want you to be those kids. So contact us after this webinar to craft a perfect personal statement. In this special, you'll get one brainstorming Zoom call, an extended outline in full paragraphs. The second one, content, structure, editing session, helping guide and shape the structure of your essay to get your story on the page, which is often the hardest part for students. And then there will be a final editing session focusing on word count to make sure you're hitting that 650 and the actual sentence phrasing. Final one will be a summary Zoom call to just hit those finishing touches, and then you should really be all set.
Definitely contact us afterwards. But let's kind of go into talking about what's the process to get started when you don't have an idea to begin with and you don't really know like where to get started on this giant piece of your application. And so we kind of have broken it down into some easy baby steps to get you to having a really good idea. So the first step is to make sure that you are writing out a list of all of the supplemental essays that you plan to write. You can also write a short outline, like pull up your resume and you kind of do a short outline from your resume of kind of the items, the things in your resume that you want to make sure you cover in the supplemental essays. So, like, these prompts will ask you, how did you choose your major? And that's like clearly the place where you can talk about your volunteering experience at a local hospital that led you towards medicine. Or they might ask you to talk about a time that you demonstrated leadership, and that obviously like would take the place of you talking about the time that you had a role on student council. So sometimes items on your resume will have to kind of be allocated specifically towards different supplementals just based on the nature of the questions in the supplemental essays. So writing out a list after you have a solid list of which items on your resume that you kind of have to talk about in your supplementals, now you can start brainstorming ideas outside of those that you kind of took away from for your Common App essay. So that way there's no overlap. You're not talking about like the same item on your resume 3 times in like the 3 different essays. You can make sure you're showcasing different parts about yourself and your experiences and your interests. And again, every year we have students sign up with Moon Prep in their senior year with their personal statements already done. And then they have to completely rewrite it when they come to us because they used up all the subjects that they need for those supplemental essays in their personal statement. And they realize that they have to like kind of tear apart their essay to use it for the supplemental essays. So essentially, what you want to be doing is by making a list of the supplemental essays and the things you have to talk about, you're creating a roadmap to the items left that you can use for your personal statement. And of course, every student that we work with has a few last minute adds to their college list in the fall, but getting the main supplemental essays planned out will help you avoid 99% of any kind of potential issues regarding overlap. So next, we're going to take that list of supplemental essays and then again, look at our resume, see what items are left to talk about. Then we're going to make a list of the Common App essay prompts. And then in outline form, you should try to answer each one of these prompts. Make sure that you're choosing the prompt that will guide you in the right self-reflection and also points to your character experiences and accomplishments. Truthfully, like answering each prompt in kind of an outline form will help you see which answer is flowing the easiest and giving like what's coming the most natural. What do you feel like you can write more on rather than just saying like a time that someone did something for me? I don't know. Someone gave me a birthday present. You might have more to answer on one of the other prompts. And the prompt that you choose should also allow you to demonstrate, your unique perspective on a given topic and also allow the readers to learn more about you. The trick is to find the thing that you want to talk about, whether it's a personal trait or an item on your resume, and then kind of find a unique way to look at it, like a different kind of sideways lens of how to look at that one thing. I have a student right now who just finished her personal statement, and she's talking about how she grew up with this car. This car that took her home from the hospital is also the car that she planned to learn to drive in, and all the lessons that this car kind of taught her along the way. So she's talking about herself and kind of how she overcame shyness and different things like that in her life, but kind of using the lens of talking about it through this like experience with the car throughout different parts in her life to kind of explain that really creatively. And again, I have another example of a student who wanted to convey through his essay the fact that he was resilient and adaptable. That was his main goal that he wanted to get across to the admissions team. And so we really talked about how he got that way. And it turns out that he moved to a new city almost every single year for his dad's job. And his resume really kind of reflects that. It shows him to be like a jack of all trades and activities because he attended so many schools. So then we ended up starting his essay with, "It's amazing how small your life can look when it's all packed up into boxes." So he doesn't just come out and say, "I've moved around a lot. That's how I've gotten really adaptable." He starts off by kind of illustrating that with kind of the image of moving boxes, basically. And then the last step is to seek out a bunch of sample essays to get a feel for how you'd like to format your personal statement. And also, maybe reading essays will spark a big idea for you that connects well to one of the moments in your own life that you can kind of like follow a formula or a strategy that you really liked in a sample essay. You can really get some good ideas that connect to your own life by reading sample essays. And of course, you're not going to like recreate that like word for word or whatever, but the student that I'm talking about with the car did read a sample essay about a desk from College Essay Guys website, and she got the idea for her car essay by reading a sample essay. So it definitely happens. Just happened a couple weeks ago for one of my students. So it's really kind of a good process to think of all the ways you can recreate that formula with elements in your own life and your own personal experiences. It's a good exercise. And essentially, what we're doing is we're looking at your resume and we're looking for the story hidden in your resume. So is there kind of a theme throughout a couple things that kind of relates to your life a little bit that you could bring out and talk about? And for example, I had a student a couple years ago who read a sample essay that was written in a way that described his life as a math problem. This was, again, a sample essay that was written kind of about this guy talking about how his life mimics a math problem, like this plus this equals this. But if you add this, it's a completely new equation. I've taken that into my own life practices, knowing that if I add one new element, it could change my perspective completely. So that was like the sample essay. And then my student really liked that concept, and she took that idea and put her own spin on it. And she wrote about how she loved baking, but she was pre-med, so she reimagined the elements of baking a cupcake from scratch into a scientific example, kind of talking about how the ingredients react with one another in the oven and how she experiments with unique flavors just like she would experiment in the lab. So again, write down things that you see at play in your favorite sample essays, and then see if there's something that you could reimagine with your own experiences and interests. And that kind of helps you find the story in your own resume.
Yeah, coming up with an essay topic is not easy for a lot of students. Remember, your grades, extracurricular activities, and standardized test scores are only showing just one part of you, one side of you. The essay is the time for the admissions officers to get to know you, even if it's just for a short period of time. So we want to know, how can you use those 650 words to really show the picture of who you are and why you would be the best candidate? So when I start working with Moon Prep students, one of the very first things that I do is send them some brainstorming questions. Here's some examples of them on the screen, but it really just gets their ideas kind of flowing. Sometimes just a regular life event can serve as a great essay topic. Sometimes students really sit and try to think of a monumental thing that has happened to them, and they get stuck finding something that's worthwhile or perfect as a big monumental thing that happened for this big essay. But the essay topic does not need to be monumental. It's supposed to be personal. Mm-hmm. These questions are just designed to have you start thinking, what makes you unique? What might you want to, what might be your biggest achievement, a time you showed leadership, a big challenge you overcame? This essay is not the time to be modest. We're definitely not saying to brag or be arrogant, but Use your story to highlight your good qualities. There's a right way to do this. It's definitely a craft, and you should definitely be spending your essay thinking about what you've done that's impressive. So think about maybe what your mom would say to their friends when she's kind of bragging about you, or, what would she be telling them? What's something that she might think would be great to tell and brag about, and then maybe put that into your own words in a concise story. If you're truly having trouble thinking of something, you can try to make a list of maybe 15 to 20 random details about your life, traditions you might have with your family, random things about you, things that are interesting, what make you you, because that's what you're really trying to figure out. Try to take those facts to help describe some small part of you that's completely unique from everyone else that you know. Another strategy you can have is to try to think about, what do I want the colleges to know about me? They see your grades, they see your transcripts. What do you want them to know about you? Some of the most important things, try to write down the super specific reasons why this is the case. We're not just saying I'm a smart student who's motivated to work hard. No, talk about how you've always loved ping pong, and so you started ping pong club at your school. Tell the story about a disaster of your first meeting at the ping pong club, and how you had to convince the people to come to the club and for it to take off, but what you learned along the way and how you've grown, and all those transferable skills that can then make you a good person to be at their university. So after we've gone through some of the brainstorming questions, I also send students sample essays so they can discover the types of writing styles that they're trying to emulate. The personal statement is a very personal, and it's a narrative. So it's essential that the students get into that mindset. After that, students and I will outline, prompt answers, go through them, like Michaela was saying. Moon Prep has tons of resources available. So working with us, we're able to share essays with you from past students, for the personal statement, and supplemental essays for many of the schools. And we can send some resources and links over after the webinar as well to the link.
Mm-hmm. I think on the next slide there is some
additional brainstorming question. Yeah, there's more. There's more. Yeah. It's just something to think about. If it just prompts some ideas, some things you might not have anything to say about, others you will have something to say. And then once you go look at the prompts, you can kind of see how they fit into one another.
Yeah, and some of the resources that we have, especially on our moonprep.com resources page, are kind of guides to writing the most popular supplemental essays, like why this school essay and why this major. I think there is a question. Jay Iyer, are there places where we can read college essays, write even supplemental essays? Yes, right here in our guidebook for supplemental essays, right on the moonprep.com resources page. Go check those sample essays out. But also, it's kind of a common practice. People post on Reddit, they post their essays on Reddit a lot. I find so many. I guess people are bragging. I don't know why, but I find a lot of sample essays on Reddit. So you can go just search for some, but also seeing a variety of them is never a bad thing. To be okay, I like what they did there, I don't like this one, and just seeing what you connect with too, because this is your essay and it just gives you an idea of how things are structured, what other people have written about. So every year, I'm blanking on the website that posts, is it US News? It's another, or New York Times.
They do it as well. Yeah. US News also posts some.
Yeah. And Harvard Crimson, all of those places post their favorite essays,
of the year.
The famous Costco essay from years ago that was in one of those New York Times ones that, people kind of mention that one a lot. You'll see that one like mentioned in the message thread, like message boards. But yeah, I guess while this is up and people are maybe like typing out the websites and things or wanting to screen grab this, to get some resources for their personal statements, we can answer some questions.
Yeah. So I know Kenneth asked, is it better to creatively write than to directly state your experiences? Absolutely. I think Michaela would agree, obviously, on that one. You want to show them and tell them about your experiences, but you're showing and you're telling. You're not just stating. It's definitely better to creatively come up with a way to showcase that.
Yes. And we have examples. We have sample essays coming up of people that did that. So don't worry. And then Ambi, when is the best time for a high schooler to get started with the personal statement? So I always have my students start in their junior year. I think, Nicole, you probably have even earlier than I do, but I have my students start spring of their junior year, and you have them start in the fall of their junior year?
Yeah, in the past, I've had students draft something for every single essay topic if they're really unsure. Sometimes we have students that one prompt just really speaks to them. They're like, yep, this is exactly what I'm going to write about. I have a great thing to write about. Some do not have that, which is totally fine. So I have them, if this was the only prompt, what would you write? If this was the only prompt, what would you write? And maybe not the full 650. Maybe it's just a, kind of shorter 200 to 300 to get their brain flowing. And I usually start that in the fall of their junior year.
Yeah. Definitely, if a student signs up with us early enough, I'm having them create a college list and like start reading sample essays in the fall of their junior year, but then I have them do it in the spring, mostly because like I feel like I'm really busy in the fall. So, but then, so if you are a rising senior Ambi, I would recommend starting yesterday. Like start immediately after you end this webinar.
This is a great first start. If you are a rising senior, this is a great place to start, and it's a great time to start, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely. And then Elisa, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if everyone butchers my name, so I feel really bad when I do it to other people. I really love reading. So can this be used as a topic for an essay? I think so. I think that you could use reading to kind of talk about different parts about yourself. So you're not just talking about like, I love reading, but you could start off with something like, it's amazing the different sides of yourself you can discover without ever leaving the house, or like within the pages of a book. With every new spine I crack or something like that, I, find out I'm more adventurous or I'm more witty than I originally imagined. And in these books, I can go, I can travel to places, my like budget would never allow and things like that. You could like kind of do that, but then also talk about, maybe have you overcome something? Like maybe where did you first discover reading? Did it help you kind of get over something? Were you like laid up in bed because you broke your leg? Like did books help you kind of through something? And then also like, where have you taken this love? Have you read on an especially amazing trip that you learned something about yourself? Like it was on a trip to Glacier National Park that Harriet the Spy came with me, but I also learned X, Y, and Z about myself as Harriet the Spy was learning something. I don't even know. Is Harriet the Spy even a book? I have no idea. Was learning this about herself. Like you could kind of do these mirror things throughout, but it could be a really cool essay probably.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Just some ideas.
It's amazing the places you can go from the confines of your bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And then I also want to clarify, is the personal statement the same as the main essay, or do you have one separately? So I sort of answered prior in the chat. A lot of students get a little bit confused on the jargon. So if you apply using the Common App, which probably 95% of our students do at least. I know it depends on your location, but most students will be using the Common App. You have to submit an essay. And that you have to choose a prompt. There's 7. That's what we were describing before. They're posted all over the place. So once you do that, that essay will go to all of your schools. Some might not require them, but most of your schools, that one essay will go to all of your schools. After that, once you go to apply to each school individually, they most likely will have a supplemental essay, at least one. If you're applying to the Ivies, they're probably going to have closer to 5 or 6. If you're applying to a state school, they might have 1 or 2. It just depends. Many of those supplemental essays follow a common trend or a common theme. So sometimes you can, kind of dabble and use similar, not the exact same essay, but similar essays for different schools. So there is one main essay. Your personal statement would be your main essay. And then there's supplemental essays as well.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't clarify, definitely someone else can ask again. I know it gets a little confusing.
I think that kind of finished up all of our questions. Is that right?
Yeah.
Erica asked, if I'm applying to graduate school, will this advice still apply? Yes, absolutely. I guess different programs require different things, but most of them require some sort of personal statement or statement of why you want to apply.
And they always want at least something. And if someone else asks, will this will be recorded, this will be live on YouTube. If you come back to the same link you're already on, it'll be there. Additionally, an email is going to go out as soon as this is over with the link as well.
Mm-hmm. So we can kind of move on, but Elisa, you're welcome. She said, thank you. This helped a lot. You're welcome. Yeah. Everybody send in some more ideas. We can keep this up. It's fine.
And we're actually doing one, what day is that? In August, where we're going to, Michaela and I will be on it. August, I think it is August 9th. Yeah. Follow us on Instagram. That's where everything gets posted, and Facebook. That's where everything gets posted. So I believe it's August 9th. Yes. Where Michaela and I will be doing something very similar, but instead of just kind of giving you the tips and the facts, we'll be actually going through and editing live. So that will be really, really cool. And even if we're not editing your essay live, seeing someone else's essay edited live, that was a mouthful.
Really helpful.
Could really be helpful and interesting. So definitely put that on your calendar. Think about it to check that one out. Also, all of our webinars are always posted also. So if you can't attend, just sign up and then you'll get the link afterwards as a reminder.
Yeah, definitely. We've never done anything like that before. And so
I'm excited.
Fun. I know. I'm excited to edit with you. I've never just edited with you. It's always offline.
It'll be cool.
So from my past experience as a college admissions officer, counselor, whatever, there are some certain topics that I recommend avoiding. And that is not because they are bad topics. I'm not saying that these are bad topics, but they are simply ones that are commonly written about. So I always say, look at your essay from the perspective of the person who's going to be reading it. So always imagine that your essay is being read at the end of the day. The admissions counselor has read 40 applications that day. They are exhausted. They skipped lunch. They have not had coffee. They are tired. And this might be the 5th essay on the same type of topic that you're writing about. It's just the odds. If, there's thousands of applications for every school, it seems like these days. And so you want to make sure that yours is standing out. And one way to do that is just to avoid topics that are commonly written about. So what I recommend avoiding is tragedy. Number 1, there seems to be a lot of essays written about a grandfather or grandparent or an aunt, someone dying. And again, great. It's a good topic. It can be deep, especially if you took it somewhere else. This inspired me to start a foundation in her name, whatever. It's a fine topic, but they're just like if I was reading 40 essays or 40 applications a day, there would be at least 10 of them written about this topic. So then at the end of my day, I would be like, oh, Nicole, yeah, I think she was one of the ones, like, I mean, they just blend together.
Mhm.
Secondly, anything about winning the big game. So imagine reading 5 essays where like someone's aunt dies, someone's grandpa dies, and then all of a sudden we worked really hard and we went to state. It doesn't really compare with like the depth of the topic. So find something a little more introspective and deeper than describing how you worked really hard with a team and then won a big game or went to state or something like that. And that goes as well for like band and things like anything. Just find something a little bit more introspective, close to the heart. And also anything about overcoming injury. Again, not a bad topic. I've seen this done very, very well in the past, but there's just a lot of essays written about it, so it's hard to stand out. I'll also say to always kind of try to avoid politics and religion as much as you can. It's the simple nature of human beings that as soon as you kind of like state an opinion, you've kind of alienated half of your audience, because people will always disagree and you don't know who's reading your essay, like you don't know. So I just say try to avoid it altogether and, just to give yourself the best like chances, odds. And then also anything about, there's a lot of essays about overcoming shyness and also any time that you felt lucky to have what you have. Like, oh, I went to go volunteer in an orphanage, in Africa or something like that. And then I'm so happy I don't live like that. And I'm so happy to come back. Like there's number one, quite a few of them written like that. And it comes across kind of, I don't know. It never comes across well for some reason. I've just never seen it done really well. And then also anything about like how you chose your major or why you chose the college. Just if there usually are supplemental questions about this, and it's just kind of not the place to talk about that in your personal statement. That's all. And then every good essay has kind of a hook, line, and a sinker. And what we mean by that is a hook is an opening sentence that kind of just like grabs your attention and does something different than like, my name is Michaela, and for the past 3 years, I've taught piano lessons. That's fine, but it's very straightforward. You can have a hook by grabbing someone's attention by doing something different, because a lot of essays start that other way. So you can do something like this and have a more creative opening that's like, when my fingers touch ivory, I feel more at home than when I walk in my front door. And that's illustrating that I love to play piano rather than just say, I played piano for 7 years. So here's some examples of how to start off right with a kind of a hook that grabs your attention. These are specific ones from students we've worked with in the past. One is, they say laughter is the best medicine. That was the opening to a girl talking about, she was a pre-med student, but she enjoyed writing stand-up comedy on the side. And she really talked about how comedy helped her work through different like kind of issues she faced in the past, and like really how comedy like helped her deal with a lot of stress in life. You never know where a simple idea might take you. It's a very simple opening, very, very like unassuming opening, but then you can take it in a lot of different ways. Like from this one opening, you could go in any different direction. This one happened to be describing an incredibly inspiring business model that someone kind of emulated and had success after kind of like seeing a certain business model. Other ones are like beating the odds is quite literally in my blood. It was about a girl whose dad had an autoimmune disease and she had to work multiple jobs to help support her family. And then my hands shook as I discovered my mistake. So that was about a girl who was kind of doing research in a lab, and she kind of put the wrong stain on a slide, but it actually ended up helping her kind of see her experiment in a different way. But it's a very dramatic opening. My hands shook because I realized what I'd done sounds like, oh my goodness, like what mystery am I about to read? So they all start off interesting and I don't know, just grabs your attention more than like, my name is Michaela.
It makes you want to read more.
Yeah.
And I'm sure as you read admissions essays, and I know this, you want to read more. When you're reading them all day long, you want something that, okay, I'm engaged now, right? Because it's kind of easy for admissions counselors to just be reading along all day. And if it's really not something that's sparking their interest, it's not going to be favorable for you. So
and you might see too that some of these are short. So I say less than 10 words. Grab their attention in less than 10 words.
Yeah.
Show them that this is going to be something different than the other 40 essays they're going to read. And, truthfully, you've been doing a lot of research on the college and everything like that. Like you know a lot about them. But the essay is the only chance for you to show your personality and show them who they would be admitting. Beyond just like their resume is just telling them like, oh, I spent 50 hours volunteering for the hospital. So your essay is your only chance to show your personality at all and write anything and show them who you are. So make sure it says everything you want it to say and make sure that it tells them everything it should about who you are.
Yeah. So before we dive into some sample essays, we just want to remind you, you absolutely do not have to do this alone in writing your personal statement. It can be so daunting to begin, and we totally get that. And we can help brainstorm at least to convey the essay, to say everything that you want it to say, and just make it exactly how you want it to be. So our first example.
Do you want to jump in?
I can read this one. That's fine.
This wasn't my student, so I don't know. I don't know this one very well.
First example. The first board game I ever played was Disney Princess Monopoly against my mother. Now, again, that first sentence, it's a little more than 10 words, but it's, for me, I'm thinking, okay, like, what else? It was a shocking experience. Again, like I'm hooked even more now. My otherwise loving and compassionate mother played to win. Though she patiently explained her strategies throughout the game, she refused to show me any mercy. Over the years, she continued to beat me in both games, but the contests became more competitive and my losses more narrow. This past summer, I interned at the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. Working there was certainly not a game, but my strategy was the same. Work hard, remain focused, and deal with the inevitable curveballs. I carefully reviewed red lines on my writing assignments, tried not to get discouraged, and responded to the comments to present the materials more effectively. Through the Parkinson's patients, I discovered what it really means to fight to win. I have also come to understand that sometimes a game never ends but transforms, causing goals to shift that may require an adjustment in strategy. My mother and I still regularly play games, and we play to win. However, the match is more balanced, and I've noticed my mother paying much more attention to my moves and habits, and even learning a few things from me.
And that's obviously a condensed version of a bigger essay, but you can see kind of the strategy at work there.
Yeah, she wanted to show off her internship, but it's not best practice to say, I got this really great internship at Parkinson's Research. And also, as a high school student, if you get an internship, that's amazing. But most of the time, what you might be doing there is not something that's so great to brag about what you were actually doing. So she chose to take the fact that she learned strategies, she understood how to remain focused, work hard, watch for changes, expect changes, and how she kind of took those smaller lessons from playing games to her internship and, career.
It can be hard to find those little threads of how you want to talk about. So that's why taking a notebook and while kind of writing through where do I spend my time? I'm not class. Like
Mm-hmm.
every single like random like weird things about you. Like I mean like doing board games with your mom, you might not ever like write that down, you know, but kind of looking at a page of like, okay, I want to connect something with my
Mm-hmm.
internship rather than just say like in the summer of 2018, I did an internship at the Michael J. Fox. She found a way to talk about it creatively with an intro about something else, finding a thread in the thing she wanted to talk about, and then ending with like tying them both together. And that's your formula. That's what you should be doing. That's the brilliant, easy formula. Find a thread
Yeah.
throughout the things you want to talk about, and it makes it easy. So number 2 was one of my students. So this was, again, literally about a thread. So can't get more literal than this. But colorful red thread intricately laces together a denim square and a flag patterned remnant of a sweatshirt once owned by my brother. That's a very long opening. I probably would have told her to change that. But slowly but surely, each square meeting one another transforms into a stunning patchwork quilt beneath my careful fingers. She's really painting a picture of what this looks like. What began as a simple, she's explaining now, she's zooming out the lens to explain what she's doing. What began as a simple 4-H project has become a passion for quilting to teach others to honor our military veterans. Over 50 youth have attended the small workshops I host to educate others on honoring our veterans and teaching them to sew quilts of valor, the only recognized award a civilian can bestow a military service member or veteran. The effort I put into teaching reminds me that true leadership is not about promoting myself. Instead, it's using my abilities to teach others and express gratitude. My final quilt sits folded on a chair. In the construction of this particular quilt of valor, I guided 8 youth in the construction of the folded work of art. Together, we are simply small pieces connected by a thread of community, patriotism, and gratitude, working together to leave the world a kinder place. So, again, she's using a lot of imagery throughout, but she definitely explains kind of like again, this is a very condensed version. There was a lot more to that essay. We put it down to like 100 words from 650, but there's a lot of imagery happening here of how she's tying things together to, yeah, again, leave the world a better place, and how she's trying to make her corner of the world a better place too, by educating others and just giving other people a skill, a task, a passion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that one a lot. She's educating, youth, and I like that one a lot. I like the amount of descriptive language that she used in the very beginning as well. Example 3. Sometimes the greatest creativity can come from a single impulse. The moment my fingers touched the strings of a violin, the vibrations beneath the strings begged me to create my own notes. And tried guitar next.
Okay, I tried guitar next.
Yeah, I'm like, hang on. And I tried guitar next. Although fashioned with similar strings, I felt more detached from the music and found myself creating new music less and less. My struggle to play the guitar led me to believe that music would be my only creative contribution to the world until I walked into room W113. There's a hallway at my school that the popular kids avoid. This hallway contains the entrance to the band room, the photography studio, and room W113. One day, I stepped foot inside the loud chaos I had always heard echo through the hallway to discover a world of layouts and designs. Journalism, it seemed, had been calling me down a hallway. I started with basic lesson on design and cameras, but rapidly picked up these skills. After a hand-drawn illustration went viral, I became the go-to artist on staff and began contributing to my local newspaper as well. Without stumbling into room W113, I would have never realized my creative potential and the depths of success hidden beneath my own hands.
Again, just a lot of good imagery there. Journalism was calling to her down the hallway. That's a brilliant sentence.
Yeah.
And again, very condensed, so there, we lost a lot of content in the middle there. That probably explain a few things, but that's okay. We're going to just show you like beginning, some of the middle, and then how did they end it, so you can see like, here's the strategies at work here. Here's what other people are doing, so you have some content to go off of.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And I just wanted to leave you with a few ways to contact our company for individualized advice, and also offer a few of our resources on that resources page, again, that you can always go visit while we start our Q&A sessions. We have a few minutes for answering some questions. So I see that there's one already sent in. We did answer another one already that was sent in before. I think her name was Ariel. So Ariel, we did answer your question before, prior. And so send in your questions now if you're still here. And also there are some ways to contact our company and stay kind of like up to date on the page as well. We have our email address as well as our website, and you can just go to our resources page easily, which has ebooks and worksheets and guides on almost every subject you can imagine, from financial aid and scholarships and writing the essay, doing a LinkedIn profile or a resume. We have everything on there. If you're interested in meeting one of our counselors, even me, Nicole, one of us, you can schedule a free call directly on our website in the contact page, and we can tell you more about our services and talk to one of us about your personal statement. And we also publish a monthly newsletter so that all of our followers have the latest college admissions news. So you're welcome to stay in the loop that way. Sorry, what?
Yeah, no, all of that, definitely the newsletter. And then follow us on social media, because we're always posting things on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, if you're on Facebook. So that's another way. We also have a Twitter. So we're always posting articles and things like that. And that's really the best way to stay in contact. If there's like a new article that someone writes, or a school announces something that's changing, the first place that we're going to post that is on our social media accounts. I'm going to share the brainstorming questions that we went over with you guys. You have that link there.
And Celio, if I said your name wrong, I'm so sorry, said, I missed a little bit at the beginning. Did you already say what the best recommended topics are? We did not really go over like, here's what you should definitely go on, like write about, because that's so personal to every single person. But if you go back and like watch the recording a little bit, you can see that we talk about ways to brainstorm and kind of find the topic that's close to you that will allow you to be introspective about your own life and what you've learned, lessons you've taken from one kind of chapter of your life to the next. We do talk about things like how to answer supplemental questions in outline form, and just how to like brainstorm different ideas for yourself. But there's no like set, like the best topics to write about is your love of skydiving. Like that's not, it's so different for every single person. But hopefully you saw some strategies here that you can use to kind of bring in your own experiences.
Yeah, and I just dropped some links in the chat for more brainstorming questions, worksheets that could hopefully be helpful as well. It's just hard to pick the best topic, because it's supposed to be a personal thing. And that means that everyone should be a little bit unique. So
yeah, absolutely.
If there's any questions, you can drop those in the chat.
Otherwise, I'll keep talking, because why not?
I was also going to put in the link for our next webinar, the one that is going to be the live editing session. If anyone is interested there, I will drop that in the chat as well.
And, I said something earlier in the beginning that was like, I kind of didn't explain it, but this is something that you might see a lot in sample essays, where people talk about finding an object that then kind of connects to parts of your life. And so what I say is to find an object like the car thing I mentioned earlier that kind of takes place over chapters of your life. So did you like one constant thing, an object can be something like a necklace, a specific like lipstick tube, something like that, or a car. And how did it kind of follow you through different chapters of your life? So if I were to do this with my own personal experiences, and you can take this formula and run with it, you'll see a lot of these examples out there. But if I were to do this with my own personal experiences, I would say something like, I grew up with horses. I have always ridden horses. So I would say something like, my favorite saddle has been with me for 10 years. I first got it off the back of a rescue horse that I got for $300 with a free saddle thrown in. And even though I almost threw away this saddle, it's been with me for years and years and years. And then I would my hook thing would be like, although the horses beneath me change color and age and everything, the saddle stays the same. The lessons I have learned in the saddle through the hundreds of miles we've been together have shaped me into the person I am today. And I would explain that. So I'm taking an object, but I'm allowing the object to talk about, like using the object to talk about myself in that way. Do you like that idea, Nicole?
I love that idea. I think that's great. And again, especially where you are location wise, where I grew up and the schools that were near where I grew up, having horse experience and riding horses is unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, that also like adds to the draw on my end. If I was the one that was reading it, I think that that's unique where, it might not be the case. So I love that idea. I think that's awesome.
But like writing it in that way would definitely be unique no matter what, even if in my area it's more common and they'd like be like roller eyes, like another crazy horse girl.
But the way that you write it and the way that you describe what was happening, describe it and where you got it and like that whole backstory, people are invested. I think that's awesome. Yeah. And it's a really simple formula once you kind of get the hang of it and just find something that you're going to use to apply in your life. We did have another question. Do colleges care about life-changing topics, or can simple yet unique topics that are written well impress admissions officers as well? So I think Michaela just kind of answered that one without meaning to. Simple yet unique topics can absolutely wow admissions officers. There's a lot of students, I'm working with a few right now, who are grasping for their most unique experience. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. You might not have one, and that's okay. Not everyone is going to have a unique experience. On our side, I'd rather you say, nothing crazy has ever happened to me. I don't have a crazy wild story. So I'm going to just really find something that I can connect and that shows my character, that shows my personality, that shows a little bit more about my life personally, the things I like to do and how I can use those in the future and, in my college career, versus someone who is trying to make something into something bigger than maybe it actually was, and try to impress that they went through this experience that maybe just isn't the best route to take. And there are students who have things that are big life events that are great to write about for them, but that's not for everyone, and that's okay. Admissions officers aren't expecting every single 17-year-old, 18-year-old high school student to have some crazy thing that they can use.
And one of the most effective essays I ever read, you remember I said like try to stay away from tragedy, because like that's a life-changing event, but it's written about a lot. So one of the most effective essays I ever read, and this was not a student that I helped, it was one that I read as a college admissions counselor that came through, and she was like instantly in. Her essay was about something simple yet effective, simple but unique. But she slipped something in there that I have remembered for like the past 6 years. She did something like, last summer was, eventful. I don't remember anything about this except for the last word, but it was something like, I finally beat the last level of Mario Kart. I finally, I learned to garden for the first time and grew my own tomato. She like had all these like list of things that she did over the summer that seemed trivial. And then at the end, she said it was also the summer that my mom beat cancer. And then she moved away from it. It was like, boom, dropped a bomb and then moved on and talked about her. And it just like added this layer of like, whoa. And so it was like a way of talking about a life-changing event without actually focusing on it and like making the admissions counselor feel like you were trying to push them to, like feel a certain way. It just was like, oh yeah, casually drop this in. So you can have life-changing events and kind of introduce them in really creative ways like that makes you stand out even more. You don't have to like I read all these sample essays that like my family escaped a war-torn country, and then other kids read that and they're like, I don't have a story like that. You don't have to at all,
Yeah.
If there's no other questions, we can end.
Yeah.
But Elisa, she said this was such an amazing informative webinar. Thanks so much. Thank you, Elisa. We're so happy you came. We're happy to help you, and send us an email to let us help you with your personal statement even more.
Everyone had great questions also. So absolutely, anyone, definitely email us. Our email is on the page. They're also on our website. You'll see our bios, a little bit more about us, how to contact us. So yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Spending your Tuesday night with us.
Yeah. All right.
Bye. Thank you.